But you started at YouTube in 2006, right? I know you have over 100,000 K subs now, and you have probably tens of millions, probably like 40 plus million views by this point.
60 million.
You started, well, the earliest content that you have up right now is crafting. I know you're a crafting guy. Though you are known for the lore content, which we've already established. Lore deep dives in on like armor and stuff like that. And you do like a few other things. Anyway, let's talk about your start, your evolution, and your experience on YouTube and why you committed yourself to this whole thing.
Yeah. So I had no idea what was going to happen. So this originally started with DM Scotty, the DM's Craft, and tabletop crafting terrain, because that was something that I was very into. As a kid growing up in the 1980s, I didn't have action figures or anything like that. I had a lump of plasticine, and so if I wanted to make toys for myself, I'd literally make them. You know, so so sculpting and making stuff with my hands has always been my passion and focus and stuff, and drawing, you know, to entertain myself, because you've got 2 TV channels and a lot of time on your hands out in the country. And also back then we didn't have miniatures and things, because I think our gaming group had a total of 6 pewter miniatures. That was it. It was all theater of the mind stuff. But I like the idea of making characters and monsters and stuff. I got Fimo, which is that moldable plastic which you can bake in the oven and it turns hard. These days everybody uses green stuff.
I'm learning here. I'm learning. Yeah. I didn't know a lot about this. I've heard about it, but I didn't know a lot about it. But go on. Yeah,
so we didn't have the 2-part epoxy putty stuff that we have these days. So there was Fimo and there was plasticine, and those were my toys that I played around with. So I would make a plasticine figure, and then I would stick all the armor and weapons and all that sort of stuff onto them. So they were my action figures. So leap forward to the 90s. And early 2000s, and I'm getting back into playing D&D again. I'm learning paper crafting. So paper crafting is recycled materials, so I don't want to spend a lot of money, and also they're just in the stuff here in New Zealand to buy. So if I want to make dungeon terrain and all that sort of stuff, I have to literally make it by hand, and I want it the easiest and most cost-effective way of doing it. I hook on to DM Scotty. He's making some early videos on this subject. I join his message board forum. I become, because I spend a lot of time online, I sort of gravitate towards becoming an admin of message forums.
There was no mainstream support for any of this stuff when you were doing it. Like there was individuals like you say DM Scotty, but there was no mainstream nothing. For this stuff at all.
And DM Scotty is still doing it. He's got his own system called the D6, Easy D6, which I highly recommend if you want a rules light, fast game. He knows what he's talking about. Anyway, so I decided to make some YouTube videos to talk to my audience, essentially the members of the thing, because we're doing crafting competitions amongst ourselves. No prizes or anything like that, just, acclaim. So I would make a video talking about essentially like a video newsletter for them. Yeah. And then, so I'm showing them me crafting stuff, and I'm showing them how I use the paper craft. So my pioneering sort of innovation to this was printing out dungeon maps on the printer, and then essentially sticking them to cardboard and doing layered cardboard that way. So instead of painting the terrain, I would just print out stuff and then layer it like an elevation thing. DM Scotty's innovation was we had Dwarven Forge, right? But if you've ever played with Dwarven Forge, and this is no condemnation of Dwarven Forge, I wouldn't, because I like the guy. Dwarven Forge deserves every accolade it has, and also a huge pioneer in the hobby as well. So the problem with Dwarven Forge is you can't see over the walls if you're sitting around a table, so you can lose sight of you have to keep craning over top of the walls to see what's going on. DM Scotty said, look, let's just reduce the size of the walls, so we'll call it, instead of 3D, we'll call it 2.5D, because it's just a little bit 3D. I'm like, that's all you need is a representation of walls. Okay, so then my innovation on top of that is, instead of painting the cardboard, because it warps and it's a pain in the ass, and I don't like using massive amounts of paints, it's expensive, I'm just going to print out stuff on my printer and stick it on there. That way, I hook on to Heroic Maps, Joe and Sarah Belton, and said, look, your maps that you're making for HeroQuest are really good, but if you could make the walls just a little bit thicker, then I can print them out and paste them on the thing, and I'll promote your channel if you can make some custom maps. He's like, yeah, sure, fine. And so he hooks onto that. He makes a set. Then another innovator, the DMG Info, Gareth, over in Australia, he makes a modular set of tiles. He says, okay, if you have this set, you can make most of the dungeons that you need, because nobody had really thought about what exactly do you need to make if you want to make, more and more dungeons and things. And he says, okay, you need like 6 corridors. He actually worked it out. You need this and that and that. This other guy, Wylock, he fixed a lot of the scaling issues and got it really precise, so everything fit together really well. Black Magic Craft uses crafting foam and stuff. He's still going strong, but he was an early innovator in that group as well. So we all had aspects that we brought to it, and a lot of that has persisted. There's Crooked Staff is carrying on with my print and paste technique.
Such a legendary group of people.
Yeah,
in the hobby. Every name you're mentioning, I've heard, and are now at this stage extremely well known people. That had to be pretty awesome to be.
Because it was grassroots and it was very practical. So it was talking about stuff that people could do at home on their own. And my favorite thing about the print and paste technique is that it's something you can do with your kids. It's very safe and easy. There's no hazardous chemicals. All you need is a printer, a crafting knife, or a pair of snips, scissors, and some glue stick. Hence the name, the Mighty Glue Stick, that I got as my nickname early on. People were very confused about that. Why are you called the Mighty Glue Stick when you're a lore channel? It's like, because I started off as, I'm an artist, I'm a crafter.
You didn't start as being wanting to be a YouTuber. You started off as just doing cool videos, part of this whole innovation thing, right?
Yeah. No idea. Like, my audience was, 10 or 20 people in my message forum. That was it. Yeah. And then one day I had a toilet roll that I'd hot glued. I got a hot glue gun, and I was making a roper, and I started talking about the lore of the roper just as I was doing the practical thing. And people were like, wow, you remember that? Like, you didn't reference a book the entire time that you were doing that. That's all just rattling out of your head. And I'm like, yeah, I know ropers. And it's like, oh, talk about the next one. Make another monster. And then the crafting fell to the wayside when my audience said, oh, no, we don't really care about the crafting. We just want to hear about the lore. And so
it's one of those things you start getting the reaction you're not even expecting.
No, yeah. So it was one of those the audience pushed me into this. Yeah.
You start doing something, next thing you know, oh, okay, that could a great reaction. And you find out like people want to hear about this stuff. That is an awesome story. What a crazy backstory for crafting.
Yeah, like, so I didn't do it for the money, didn't do it for the fame. Like, there was no money for the first 3 or 4 years. I didn't even realize you could get paid on YouTube.
See, this is educational for me, because I knew you're a lore guy. I knew you're a deep dive guy. I didn't know how involved you were with every name there that you mentioned. Like, I know all of those guys, every one of those guys. I mean, I've been around this for a minute, I think, as you know. I've been around here for a long time, so it's like I know every one of those guys coming up. And you're right, there was, even in the 90s, at a certain point, before we get to plastic miniatures, we don't have a lot of stuff. But you knew this was a crafting hobby. I mean, I knew that from the 80s. You go back to the 80s here, and they'd be like, we don't play with miniatures much. It's mostly theater of the mind, which is true. Now, guys that came in later into the old school, a lot of them just think our whole history is miniatures. It's like, well, it's not. But we had a great painting hobby part. We had guys that are starting to craft, but it's not public. You can go over to like Mike's house, and he'd have an amazing table, but he might have been a war gamer too, and they were already crafting war gamers. Yeah, right?
Yeah. So it's like war gaming. That was the legacy of war gaming. Yeah. So these guys like Gary Gygax and those guys, and this is something I want to see come back, is the sand table, right? So it's a table which is a sand pit essentially. Yeah. So if you want a river and terrain and all that stuff, you just heap up the sand to whoever you need it, and then scatter down some green flock for grass and stuff like that.
And you start getting it out. But
Gary was notorious for stubbing his cigarettes out in it, by the way.
Yeah, but the hobby was always going to, and I know exactly what you're talking about, but the hobby was always attracting that. And that's obviously from wargaming, but it's like when it came to making stuff at home, most guys couldn't make nothing. Like, most guys wanted to. Most guys, almost every guy I know, if you go back now, like if you talk to guys now, like, I make this, and they're like, when do you start making that? Well, I watch, and they'll mention the names we're talking about here. I started that's who I got my idea from. The Black Magic, that's who I got my idea from. Like every name you're mentioning, DM Scotty, yeah, I seen him do this, and that's where I got my idea from. And so it's like the influence those guys had is probably bigger than they probably even acknowledge now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if they went into the world, it would shock them just how many times their names in 2026 will still get mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, we had no idea. And this is the thing, you don't realize that, like, when you're the first people using Google Hangouts to run live games, for instance, that was Underwood, Woodward.
Geez, I love him.
And from him on the Facebook came the YouTube RPG Brigade. And these guys were big. They were the main sort of click influencers at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Back before there was any paid DMs or anything like that. In fact, earning money from the hobby was anathema. Like, that would get you publicly ridiculed. So today's environment would horrify them.
Sam White,
that have effigies of Ginny D burning on the stake.
But the work they did, you can still go to, like, they talk about covering games today. I'm like, have you guys heard, like, you go back and there's crafting, but then there's like Samwise Tim. Go back to him covering games, man.
Samwise 7.
His coverage is so good. I don't care what anybody says. You go watch one of his videos, you'll walk away knowing more, understanding more. I mean, the guy was brilliant. And if the guy was doing that content today properly, oh man. But back then, you're right. He'd always say, I'm not in this for the money, but you could tell, you could watch his and you'd hear passion. Yeah. But that's sold, man.
So Matt Click sort of pioneered the walking around in the parking lot, talking to the camera. And Barker, who was a good friend of his, and in that RPG Brigade, Barker came up with the idea of doing a narrative roll. So instead of a skill check or something like that where you roll the dice, he says, okay, what we'll do is we'll do a throwback scene in your character's history where he's talking to it. Where did you learn that? Tell us where you learned that. And if your story is good, you pass. I'm like, fuck, that's so good. That is so good.
Parker was a shit talker out of those couple guys. Like, Matt Click was really nice, like really nice.
Matt Click was
Parker would have a little toss up with you.
He was a musician as well. He was very creative.
Oh yeah, he was. Yep.
But so there was lots, and from the player base, we came up with the one shot group where basically just find people to play games online via streaming with. And there were a lot of
were popular. Very.
It was, yeah. Unfortunately, that led to my first downfall on social media and got me into, like, really concentrating on YouTube in the first place, because I got socially ostracized because I basically got thrown out of the admin position on the group through mostly my own fault. But yeah, there was some dirty fucking tactics that they did, just the worst.
I try to tell some of the guys that I said they all think what they're doing now is doing. I'm like, the games have been being played for a long time.
So
a lot longer than they know about. Yeah,
we innovated. We played everything, man. We played all of the worst games you can name these days. We also played like sessions of Miffarog, very controversial content creator. Yeah. Very crunchy game, very realistic rules for everything, because he used it to educate his kids on
homeschooling.
Homeschooling. But it was a really good sort of true to the era and true to the vibe of Viking times.
Norway.
And it was controversial, not just because of who he was, but because of how accurate it was to actual Viking era times and the culture back then, which was not nice to outsiders and things like that, and kind of brutal. And the mythology and things was, fairly brutal.
It wouldn't fit today's world.
No, not at all. But it stands. It stands as a historical document, you could say.
And that was not inspired by D&D. I think it was the Lord of the Rings game was his main game that ended up inspiring that one. Yeah,
probably. Yeah. I watched quite a few of his videos, and it was Varg Vikernes, I think his name was.
Yeah, I actually talked to him directly for a while, so I know exactly who you're talking about.
I had one interaction with him, and I was just like, oh, okay, no, we're not gonna meet eye to eye on anything.
Oh,
because he was arguing a basic bit of biology, and I'm a university trained biologist, so yeah. So as my YouTube channel grew, I eventually was earning as much as I was earning working at a genetics lab. And so I decided to quit the genetics lab job, and everybody thought I was fucking nuts. Like, are you crazy? And I was like, yeah, but I've got to do it. I've got to do it because I can't stand coming into work at the lab anymore. It's just driving me absolutely. There was mornings I couldn't get out of bed. Honestly, no matter what they threatened me with, I was just like, I can't mentally do this. I'm a monkey. I'm a monkey putting myself into a cage.
Not everyone can do what they love to do, but if you can. And now today's devices, they tell you to do what you love to do. Well,
yeah. The old saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I work my ass off, but I never feel like I'm 9 to 5 or anything. Yeah. I'm the worst boss I've ever had. I will literally work myself to exhaustion every day doing what I do, but I just love it.
You got to be somebody who gets stuff done, because there's some people out there under pressure. It's almost better to put pressure on them because they'll get something done. But if you say, do it in your own time, be like 5 years later, you finish the book?
Yeah.
No, not yet. But if you give them you give the same person 8 months, book's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like you. I can go, okay, I could have 5 years, but I'll get it done in 8 months.
Yeah. I'm a New Zealander, so we don't believe in the word impossible. Like, we climb the tallest mountain and all that sort of shit because it's there, right?
Yeah.
And so you tell me, do the complete history of the Netherall Empire or something. Has it ever been done? No.
No, that would be awesome. No.
Has it ever been done?
Yeah. The complete history, I don't think so at all.
Yeah. But like the guy who made the 3-hour long history of Warhammer 40k video, that's the vibe, right? It hasn't been done, but once it's done, it stands as an absolute monument. And so that's what I'm pursuing. Is I want to be the encyclopedia D&D, right? So I want a library of videos where you can go in and the lore is preserved. No corporation can destroy it. It's there for everybody.
Well, that was my aim doing some of the streams here with all these different games. I wanted to do fact-based coverage. I kept telling people, and people ask me, why are you doing games that aren't getting a lot of views now? And I'm like, well, look, I'm a YouTuber, but I'm also someone who's passionate like yourself about the hobby. I'm like, I want people in 50 years to be able to look back and go, what's this stuff? And then what I say is based on reality. And I want game designers today who don't know a lot about our history and certain things about game design that's old and forgot. Like, we're going back to character death. It's just like there's stuff that's not even mentioned anymore. It's not even a bad idea. It's just not mentioned. It could be as modern as any other idea. But I'm like, if no one talks about these 10 games or all these different, you won't know. The game designers won't know. And there's a lot of young guys that want to make games, and I'm like, I want you to hear this.
Yeah, there's two types of censorship, right? And the one we're talking about is the dangerous one. It's where something is just not talked about. It's deliberately forgotten. Yeah. So that's where we come in. It's like, look, Wizards of the Coast is now stocked by a bunch of people who have no interest in the lore. 50 years of literary history. We're talking about the Forgotten Realms world setting is more complicated than any fantasy franchise ever made. I would argue even more so than Lord of the Rings, which is saying something.